Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of MMA Retail Media Network podcast. MMA is keen to help marketers to know more about Retail Media Network. What are the best implementation strategies? Why is it growing? How do you measure success on Retail Media Network? And how it works across the funnel. On this episode, we are delighted to welcome Christine from Publicis. Christine is Head of Commerce for Publicis in Asia Pacific. Welcome, Christine.
Thanks, Anand. Hi, everyone. Like Anand introduced, I'm Christine. I lead commerce here at Publicis across APAC. My role really is to help, local markets, teams, and clients accelerate in terms of best practices, strategy, innovation when it comes to retail media and social commerce. So happy to be here. Thanks for the invite, Anand.
Thank you so much for your time. So, Christine, you've worked across several categories. You handle clients from a wide range of categories. What are the most significant trends you have noticed with respect to retail media networks in the last few years?
Yeah, so I think especially with like the recent updates and trends, I think two things that I'm really noticing with retail media networks. So firstly, it's obviously AI integration, right? Nothing is without AI.
Yeah, yeah.
Both I think from a front end perspective for consumers as well as, back end from a media buying, right, perspective. If you look at GMV Max, right, something that's coming up a lot, not just on Shopee, Lazada, but also on TikTok, right, where we're really using AI to drive the algorithm. Front end, retail media networks are also using more AI, right, to help with consumer decisions, etc. The other that I find really interesting, and I think this is especially prevalent in the Southeast Asia market, it's really the content ecosystem, right? So if you look at Amazon, for example, where, even in the States or in the UK, they're starting to build live stream capabilities. If you look at what Shopee and Lazada are doing, in the past 2-3 years is building on that content ecosystem, bringing not just live stream to their platform, but also video content. Because I think what, pure players and perhaps even more so for the pure players where, they're starting to see product discovery, brand discovery not being linear anymore. And so it's quite interesting. I'm starting to see, retailers build this kind of capabilities within their solutions.
Great. What are the most popular targeting requests from brands which other media cannot deliver?
So I don't think I don't know whether popular is the word, but retail media is very intent based, and so the go-to ways to target and the go-to ways to basically buy media, it's by search. Right. If you look across not just the marketplaces, but even on Kohl's, Woolworths, etc. Even in the quick commerce, it's very search driven because it's intent based. I would actually flip the question and ask, what is the least favorite way of targeting on retail media, which is and which I think we'll discuss at length in a couple of minutes, but it's basically consideration or display type of buys, I would say less popular on retail media, because the moment you think retail media, you think, okay, intent, I need to buy by search. My KPI is ROAS, my KPI is GMV, right? So I only want to invest in buys that are specific to capturing the intent. And I would say most clients and brands don't look to retail media for anything that's mid to upper funnel.
Got it. In terms of the operational challenges in the initial stages of adoption of retail media network, what are some of the challenges that brands face?
from a again, sorry, you said from a operation standpoint.
That's right.
Yeah, so um I see, I think the I see the challenge in two ways, right? So one more from a client perspective. I think if you look at the evolution of retail media, to be honest, it started with trade, right?
Mm,
If you look at how organizations are set up, this was something that was initially managed by trade, and then slowly
mm,
you're starting to see organizations evolve where they set up specific what they call digital commerce team, or
mm,
they put this under the performance team.
mm,
And I think that evolution, and what I'm seeing today is still, I still see silos in organizations where budget sources are separate,
mm,
budget fundings are separate, and so it's very difficult to drive integration between what perhaps trade marketing is trying to strive for versus what a brand client, right, or a brand media
mm,
team might be striving for. So that silos is something that exists in different forms, I would say, across clients,
mm,
right? And what we do, right, as agencies in terms of trying to help clients overcome that is really thinking from a consumer perspective, right?
mm.
Regardless of where the budget source is coming, we all want to strive for, being at the right time at the right place in front of the consumers.
Yeah.
And so I think by putting on that lens, it really helps clients overcome this challenge, like, overcome the silos, the working silos and budget silos, and really think from a consumer perspective.
Great. Retailers are at different stages of adoption with respect to their offering for advertising opportunities. Where do you think is the biggest opportunity for retailers to improve their offering? Is it targeting? Is it measurement? Is it formats?
Um, I'm a bit of a data geek, so I would
Mhm,
say measurement and data. To be
mm,
honest, I think the North Star, or rather, the future where I hope all retail media network will be able to kind of achieve, I'm really looking to Amazon, right? Because if you look at the kind of solutions that Amazon has built, and also the way they are able to help brands and advertisers kind of unlock insights and understanding through their clean room solutions, for example, right? AMC.
mm,
So something that we've done at Publicis is we have actually built a solution that allows brands to connect their AMC to whatever they're doing from a retail perspective, from a even brand like Amazon DSP perspective, bring that on
mm,
into a clean room to understand consumers, understand insights that then allows us to optimize on performance when it comes to not just retail media, but also brand, right? To be able to
mm,
one obviously get a good understanding of, that consumer journey, and two, a measure and attribute, right, accurately. So,
mm,
that's I would see Amazon as a North Star. I think obviously, the maturity in terms of retailers differ across markets. Today, while I think from a formats perspective, it's really dependent on how the front end looks like to consumers. But the one thing that I find lacking in most, retail media networks is still data and measurement, which is a
mm.
huge ask from our clients every time, we work with them,
Yeah.
like, can I get this data? Can I get that insight? And
Mm,
and it's still a roadblock today, unfortunately. Yeah.
yeah. Got it. When brands start utilizing retail media networks in the early stages, what are the most common concerns? Because I've heard from some of them that the open internet or even some of the walled gardens have
Hmm.
much wider reach, which is in billions of people. And retail media networks typically offer obviously a smaller reach. So, are
Hmm.
there any concerns about reach or efficiency across the funnel or duplication of reach? What are some of the common concerns in the early stages of adoption?
Yeah. So you're right. I think the first thing that clients would look at, or we would look at, is scale, right? Retailers, individual retailers on their own is very small in scale. And I think that's where, certain retail media networks have done a great job of aggregating this scale
Mm, mm,
across retailers. Um, I think the challenge just, with this landscape is it's so diverse. We have a huge, number of different types of retailers from Omni to Pure Play across the region and in all the different markets. It's almost like a different, retailer each time. You have Coupang in Korea, you have, a different set of retailers in China. So I
yeah.
think what has been very difficult in this region is to aggregate that scale to bring
Mm,
multiple retailers together, which, is sometimes I would say I wouldn't say a roadblock, but it's something that we have to help clients understand that, we can't look at retail media networks the same way we look at Meta, YouTube, right?
mm,
Regardless of the scale, you're really going for, retailers that matter to you and retailers that matter to your consumers, right? But I think scale is one of the big concerns because even if the ROES is good, it's a very tiny volume, right? And then the clients be
I
like,
know.
why do I have to invest to get,
Mm,
0.1% of
mm,
GMV compared to my entire pie, right? So that's something that,
correct.
I think to date we're still, trying to overcome that scale discussion.
Got it. Do you think brands are utilizing retail media networks across the funnel? And what can be done to improve the usage across the funnel?
Yeah, that's a interesting question. I think back to what I mentioned earlier. I think the nature of retail media is so lower funnel, is so sales driven. If you look at the clients that are briefing us when it comes to retail media are usually commerce clients, right? And
Mm,
unfortunately, they do have a sales target that's hanging over their head. And every dollar that they invest is so precious that,
mm,
to be answerable to every dollar that they invest in media, it's immediately tied to sales, right?
mm,
Which is why I think in general, when it comes to retail media, it's almost immediately thought of just lower funnel, ring fence, the lower hanging fruits, make sure we convert
yeah.
when people are ready to buy. But something that we've been trying to do with clients is how can we integrate this with brand? And this
Mm,
is helping brand teams understand the opportunity to drive awareness in an environment that's usually not thought about when it
mm,
comes to upper funnel, right? Or driving awareness or consideration. And that's why I say, in my earlier point around the trend on, certain pure players trying to build content, it's for that reason, right? It's because they know
yeah.
that today product discovery and brand discovery is no longer linear. They're trying to build
Mm,
an ecosystem so that,
mm,
beyond just trying to drive lower funnel, obviously from a front-end consumer perspective, you go to the platform for more reasons. That's great,
yeah.
right? But it's
Yeah.
also for brands, then that's more opportunity for you to be communicating to your consumers. That is not just at the point of purchase, right? Where,
Mm,
decisions are so quick on retail media, right? On retailers, sorry. And so I think, what we've been trying to do is bring brand into the mix so that we can look at retail media from a full funnel perspective. I would say that though, from a upper and mid funnel, sort of formats and opportunities,
mm,
that's something that I'm still seeing retail media networks build out.
yeah.
I would say that the lower funnel, formats are something that are well established. And I'm excited to see, in the next couple of years, what this would look like when, brands and advertisers start to see this from a full funnel perspective.
Yeah. Thank you. How do you measure campaign effectiveness?
When it comes to measuring campaign effectiveness for retail media, due to the nature of the platform, by default, reality is it will always be sales, right? It will always be GMV.
Mm,
Of course, beyond sales and GMV, businesses do have other KPIs that they would like to look at. And this is where, I think retail media networks don't make it easy for us to measure, which is, looking at new buyers, right? New to brand.
mm,
category, market share, etc., where, that will help us understand what is the potential to scale, how effective my campaign was in terms of maybe driving new users or loyal users, existing users, right? Something that's beyond just sales. But unfortunately, I think quite a few, we're still quite nascent in that sense, I think, for retail media networks in this region where it's just very difficult to measure anything that's beyond sales and ROAS.
You work with, again, a lot of retail media networks. Some of them are omni-channel, some of them are pure play e-commerce. What are the advantages of working with omni-channel retailers versus pure play commerce sites?
I think the advantages of working with omni-channel retailers, as I think the name suggests, omni-channel, right, is the ability to be able to drive offline sales, and really connect online to offline or offline to online. I mean, if you think about omni-channel players, they all started off with offline and then they eventually went online.
Yeah.
And so they do have very strong relationship and trade relationship with clients. And so whatever you do from an omni-channel perspective, helps clients be able to unlock opportunities across both, online and offline sort of realm, right? Because if you look at the examples in Australia, right, like Cartology, for example, where they are able to bring opportunities in terms of formats, not just online, but also in store. Right. And I think that really helps create a 360 sort of solution for clients that, pure players just can't offer.
You brought it out earlier that people research online, purchase offline, or the other way around. What are the measurement challenges that can be solved when working with omni-channel retailers?
So I think measurement, again, because I'm a data geek, I think when it comes to measurement for omni-channel, I haven't really seen a comprehensive, measurement solution that really allows brand to attribute every dollar that they're putting into, investing in the paid solution to sales, right? Reality is, especially for grocery stores, it will always be difficult to measure footfall, right? For example, or link that sale on the POS to an ad that
Yeah.
was seen online, right? You will never be able to do that. The nearest that we're able to do is from a cohort perspective, right? When you do cohort analysis. And so I think today, I think with what the existing solutions, I think, an example like FairPrice and their partnership with TTD is already a step ahead, where we are able to look at, what we buy programmatically mapped to sales, right, in stores and not just, online. And so I think that is already, a step and an advancement when it comes to omni-channel measurement effectiveness.
The insights that retail media network offer, which can be used really well at a planning stage.
So I think when it comes to, so I think this is again back to data. And I think this is also, a function of what the KPIs are for retail media network, right? So because it's so sales driven, the kind of data and insights we would then use to plan is usually, what is the overall contribution of paid to overall GMV, right? What are the formats and placement that's driving good ROAS, and therefore how should we plan our budget? How even from a budget sufficiency perspective, sometimes it's a bit challenging because you first need to know what's the new universe for us to
Yeah.
then be able to say
Yeah.
what's the headroom. But there are challenges with this because there is just no way, and retail media networks don't give such data. So we do have to rely on third-party data, for example, the likes of your Euromonitor or Shelf Intelligence, right, to get an estimate, right, to be able to understand what that headroom, to do that headroom analysis to understand what's that potential. But I would say it's a combination. Some of the data are based on historical performance and relying on third-party data that helps us understand shelf performance.
Great, thank you. With retail media network, because it's growing so rapidly, the product offering keeps changing very fast. Technology keeps changing. Privacy regulations keep changing very fast in every market. How do you keep up with advancement in all these areas?
Yeah, and so that's why I have a very difficult job. Right, in order to drive innovation, you need to know what's the latest. And today I think we are reliant on the retail media networks to basically tell us what's the latest, what's up and coming. What I find quite interesting is when there is a certain new solution that's rolled out on one platform, it almost comes to the other platform in matter of months. And so back to the
Yeah.
trend, I think, where we're looking at AI, looking at content, I think these are ways that, we beyond just obviously speaking to retail media networks themselves to keep abreast of, what are their future product rollouts. It's also looking at where the industry is trending and I think that's where, retail media networks are building their solutions towards AI content, affiliates even, right? So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. Yes. Let's go on to the next one. How accurate and transparent is the data provided by retail media networks?
I feel like this will open a whole can of worms. So this really varies to be fair. This really varies. I think one struggle that uh, like in general that we all have with retail media networks is the fact that it doesn't allow third-party measurement or third-party tracking. And because of that, this will always be a challenge where we will always be dependent on retail media networks to provide that data, right? Because if you think from a digital media perspective, you have ad servers, and ad servers help you get that third-party view to attribution. It helps you get a third-party view to volume and sales, etc. But in the world of retail media networks, you're reliant on the pure players, you're reliant on the retailers to provide the sales, right? And therefore, is it really transparent? I don't know. We just have to depend, right, on the retailers and trust the retailers in the data that they give. Obviously, I think, this varies by platforms. There are platforms like Amazon that is, very advanced and the way they report and provide data to brands and advertisers, that's very clear, it's very open. Certain retailers that are probably just starting out in their RMN sort of a journey will be a bit slower where data is probably still a bit manual. Not saying that they're not transparent, but probably because their ecosystem is still not mature, and so the data is just a bit more manual when it comes to being able to access that data. But I think in general, while there is a wide spectrum of retailers, I'm still hoping that in the near future we'll be able to see more advancement when it comes to transparency of data.
What are the best practices for utilizing first-party database effectively while working with retail media networks?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to first-party data, and especially I guess clients that are using retail media networks in general would be your CPGs, right? These are clients that are, to be honest, light on first-party data. I think, in the past 2 to 3 years, CPGs have actually done a great job of trying to grow that, but you will obviously never be at the same levels of brands that have D2C sites, right? Or, loyalty programs where they have direct access to consumers. And so I think in terms of using that one PD, the ability to leverage one PD, right? Two ways, right? So one, from a brand perspective, I think because brands that use RMNs are more CPG driven, and because of
Mm,
that, the 1PD is light. Secondly, just from a retailer's perspective as well, like the ability to ingest first-party data is still relatively limited at this point of
mm,
time. I think the
yeah,
way brands can leverage that first-party data, it's mainly through off-site opportunities where it's either bought programmatically or it bought, through social, for example, to be able to drive traffic there. That's a great opportunity for brands to use first party data. And that's where we usually focus. Like when clients say, hey, I want to, either suppress certain audience or, look for lookalikes of my first party data, the go-to will usually be looking at type of offsite type of buying solutions. The on-site, continues to be a challenge. Obviously, platforms like Amazon, you can do it, but they're, I think for the rest of the markets in this region, ability to use one PD on-site is still a challenge.
got it. Last question. How do you think retail media networks improve the overall efficiency for clients, whether it is ROS, whether it is reach among category buyers, lifetime value? How does it help clients to improve the overall efficiency of the campaigns?
Yeah, so I think when we say, efficiency, and especially given that, retail media, it will always be GMV and ROAS focus. I think what retail media networks provide clients and brands an opportunity to do is um, now have control, right, over the
Mm,
placements and what they buy and how they target audiences, right? If you look at the evolution from it used to be very offline based, now that it's kind of evolved online, brands now have direct control over, the ability to manage, right, retail media placements. And so because of that, like, in terms of efficiencies, to be able to drive better performance in sales, right? Instead of going through trade marketing, you now have a platform, right? A self-serve platform, a tool that you're
yeah,
able to buy and drive efficiency in that sense. So I think when it comes to efficiencies provided by RMN, retail media networks, it's mostly, the ability to be able to drive better, sales performance and ROAS basically.
great. Any last thoughts?
Any last thoughts? Oh my God, that threw me off. Um, no, I think it's been a great discussion. I think retail media in this especially in this region is very exciting. I think unlike the US, unlike the Europe markets, social commerce, right? The rise of TikTok Shop is huge in this region.
Mm,
If you look
mm,
at TikTok Shop rollout, it's even going to North Asia markets now. It's coming to Australia soon. So
yeah,
I'm very excited by, the make of and the ecosystem of retail media in this region, and hope, there is more to come in this area.
thank you so much. Christine, wonderful speaking to you. Thank you so much for taking time and sharing your valuable insights. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much, Anand.